who knows, circa all these years. So it's an original idea. I think, it's Quentin's idea. He can open a restaurant if he wants.
Number 1 on Uma Thurman's list, the betrayal she never forgave, was Ethan Hawke. The man she once called her soulmate, the father of her children, and the person who turned love into a lifelong scar. They met on the set of Gattaca in 1997, 2 rising stars whose chemistry seemed written by fate. By the time they married in 1998, they were Hollywood's golden couple, young, talented, and deeply admired. But what began in admiration ended in anguish. Behind the flashbulbs and movie premieres were long separations, growing silence, and the quiet corrosion of trust. Then came 2003, the year the whispers started. Rumors spread that Ethan had been unfaithful, allegedly with the couple's nanny while Uma was away filming Kill Bill. He denied it, but the damage was done. Uma's silence spoke louder than any accusation. She filed for divorce in 2004, choosing dignity over drama, but the heartbreak was written all over her calm, deliberate words. "I haven't said one mean thing, and I'm not going to start now. It's terrible for my family." Those words hid a deeper truth, that the betrayal wasn't just about infidelity. It was about public humiliation, shattered trust, and the unbearable pain of watching a dream life collapse under the spotlight. When Ethan remarried in 2008, Uma reportedly refused to ever speak his name again. Yet, through their children, Maya and Levon, he remained an unavoidable ghost in her story. Today, their public interactions are polite, almost cordial, but beneath that civility lies a quiet ache, a reminder that some wounds don't fade, they just learn how to wear a smile. Every time Uma speaks of peace, what she really means is distance, the only kind of forgiveness she could ever offer. Number 2 on Uma Thurman's list, Gary Oldman, The Fire That Burned Too Young, was a love story born from chaos and destined for destruction. When they met on the set of State of Grace in 1989, Uma was barely 18, wide-eyed and unscarred by the darker corners of fame. Gary was 31, already a celebrated actor, but living a life steeped in turbulence, a crumbling marriage, a volatile temper, and a growing dependence on alcohol. To Uma, he was magnetic, brilliant, unpredictable, and dangerous in the way only tortured artists can be. Their connection was instant, explosive, and doomed. Within months, Gary's marriage to actress Leslie Manville collapsed, and soon after, he and Uma were wed, a union that shocked Hollywood and confused those who knew them. Their relationship was a wild carousel of passion and destruction. Champagne-fueled nights, public arguments, tearful reconciliations, and mornings that began where last night's fight had left off. In later interviews, Uma would describe it not as a romance, but as a lesson. "We met when I was 18. It was a crazy love affair that ended as it needed to." That single sentence carried the weight of trauma. Behind closed doors, Gary's addictions ruled the marriage. He vanished for days at a time, leaving Uma in hotel rooms filled with silence and dread. The chaos bled into her work, missed shoots, restless nights, and the realization that love with a man like Gary meant surviving, not living. When she finally walked away in 1992, she wasn't just ending a marriage, she was saving herself. Years later, Gary would trivialize their union in an interview, calling it something that didn't mean much to either of us, a remark that reopened old wounds and reminded the world why Uma never looked back. Since then, he's remarried multiple times, while Uma has guarded her peace like something sacred. And though she never speaks his name, whenever it comes up in an interview, her expression hardens, not from anger, but from memory. Because for Uma Thurman, Gary Oldman wasn't just a chapter. He was the fire that taught her how to survive the burn. Number 3 on Uma Thurman's list, John Cusack, the man who loved fame more than her, was a heartbreak that unfolded not in chaos, but in quiet disappointment. They met in the early 1990s, when both were at the height of their rising stardom. Uma, the ethereal ingenue with a fire behind her eyes, and John, the brooding romantic who had built a career on playing soulful misfits. On paper, they seemed perfect. 2 thoughtful actors drawn together by wit, artistry, and the illusion that they could find something real in a world made of cameras and scripts. But behind the charm and laughter, there was imbalance. Uma was all heart, searching for connection, while John was already seduced by the machinery of fame. Friends recalled that he treated every dinner, every conversation, as if the world were watching. Charming, clever, but never fully present. Uma saw it slowly. She wasn't competing with another woman, but with an image, the one he'd built for himself. Their relationship flickered like a candle in a draft, passionate one moment, cold the next. She admired his intellect, but the more she loved him, the more invisible she became in his orbit of self-admiration and industry adoration. It wasn't a scandal that ended them, it was exhaustion. Uma reportedly told a friend that being with John felt like dating a man who was always rehearsing for an audience that wasn't there. Number 4. From the start, their relationship was tested by the pressure of fame. Every red carpet appearance, every dinner captured by paparazzi became a performance. Uma tried to hold on to authenticity, but Gere lived in controlled detachment, gracious, kind, but emotionally unreachable. He had mastered the art of distance, even in intimacy. Friends close to Uma recalled her frustration. She often felt like she was dating a mask, a man who could play a lover perfectly on screen, but never let anyone touch the real person underneath. The emotional gap widened when Gere began prioritizing his humanitarian projects and career obligations over their time together. For Uma, it wasn't his work that hurt. It was the quiet message that she would never come first. Their relationship eventually unraveled without fanfare or scandal, just a steady fade into silence. Uma, bruised but wiser, moved on, channeling her pain into performance and growth. Gere, as ever, remained untouchable, polite, distant, wrapped in the protective aura of his gentlemanly mystique. But time has a way of bringing the past back into focus. Nearly 3 decades later, in Paul Schrader's 2024 film Oh Canada, fate reunited them on screen as an aging couple grappling with memory and mortality. The irony was impossible to ignore. On camera, they embodied closeness. Off camera, an invisible wall remained between them. Gere mused publicly during press interviews, "I wonder what you'd be doing in the last hours of your life," a line that sounded philosophical, but to those who knew their history, it rang hollow. Uma, now seasoned and self-assured, played her part with grace but kept her distance, knowing the charm that once drew her in had also been the mask that hid his indifference. Number 5 on Uma Thurman's list, Robert De Niro, the rumored flame that left scars, is perhaps the most mysterious and quietly painful chapter in her story. When Uma stepped onto the set of Mad Dog and Glory in 1993, she was young, ambitious, and eager to work alongside one of cinema's living legends. De Niro, by then an icon of intensity and method precision, carried an aura that both intimidated and fascinated her. Their dynamic began as student and master, Uma absorbing every gesture, every note of his craft. But as the cameras rolled, something far more complicated took root. The chemistry between them was undeniable, the kind that blurs the line between performance and reality. Rumors swirled through the studio halls that their on-screen tension spilled over after hours, though neither ever confirmed it. At first, Uma viewed De Niro with reverence. He was quiet, commanding, the kind of man whose approval meant everything in an industry built on perception. But the more time they spent together, the more that silence became a wall. In private moments, Uma reportedly asked him, "Do you even see me, or am I just part of the scene?" To which De Niro coolly replied, "I see everything, but I act as I must." It was a line worthy of a script, detached, deliberate, and deeply revealing. Behind that restraint, Uma felt something colder, a manipulation cloaked in professionalism, a reminder that power in Hollywood didn't always roar. Sometimes, it dismissed. The media quickly caught wind of their charged interactions, transforming every glance and every exchange into tabloid speculation. Uma, then still carving her identity as more than a muse, found herself trapped in narratives she didn't write. To work with De Niro was to enter his shadow, a place where brilliance came with distance and warmth was rationed like privilege. On set, she grew increasingly frustrated with the emotional vacuum he maintained, finally confronting him during a tense moment. "You don't need to ignore me to be great, Robert." He didn't answer, just looked at her with that trademark stillness, the kind that said more than words ever could. That silence became the final scene of whatever connection they'd shared. Years passed, and De Niro continued to be celebrated as one of film's greatest actors, while Uma carried the unspoken weight of what it meant to be seen and unseen by a man of such magnitude. She never spoke ill of him publicly, only hinted in later interviews, at the price of learning from men who never really let you in. Their rumored romance faded into Hollywood folklore, but the emotional residue never truly disappeared. Today, when she's asked about Mad Dog and Glory, there's always a brief flicker in her eyes, a memory she keeps guarded, equal parts admiration and ache. In the end, Robert De Niro stands as the embodiment of that final lesson in Uma Thurman's story, that not all scars come from betrayal or chaos, some are left by indifference. His brilliance was undeniable, his presence unforgettable, but for Uma, he was the man who taught her the coldest truth of all, that even the greatest can wound you simply by not caring enough to see the person behind the performance. That's all for today. Which of these 5 men shocked you the most? The betrayals, the chaos, or the quiet cruelty? Could you forgive someone who left scars this deep? Let us know your thoughts in the comments, and don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more untold Hollywood stories and the secrets behind the stars.